All right, sixth graders, today is our first day of learning about Mesopotamia, the first civilization that ever existed. Crazy stuff. Before we get started, take 1 minute to fill out the review on the top of your page. The review asks, do you still remember the 4 features necessary for farming? List them here with the most important feature first. All right, we're back, and these should be your answers. Notice that fresh water is the first one listed, so it is the most important because it provides drinking water for people. It creates fertile soil. It can allow people to travel and trade. And then we have fertile soil, level land, and mild climate are also very important for farming. The question that we're going to be answering today is, what were the advantages and disadvantages of Mesopotamia's geography? 3 words to know. Advantage is a good thing. It is like a leg up or something that's good. And a disadvantage is something that prohibits things from going well. And geography is what the land is like. All right. So these are the 4 river valley civilizations we will be studying on the map shown and on the map on your page. I want you to find Mesopotamia on the map on the left. Put your finger on Mesopotamia. Circle it on the map on the right and write down which number correctly marks Mesopotamia on the map. Good. You should have number 2 and you should have it circled. Now I drew an extra line on this map because sometimes the test will try and trick you. Mesopotamia had 2 rivers, which is why I drew the second line right here next to the other line right here. They won't always show you the 2 rivers, so you have to make sure you just know exactly what it looks like. All right. Mesopotamia was the perfect place for farming. Besides being called the cradle of civilization, meaning it was the place where farming civilizations began, it was also called the Fertile Crescent. Can you make an inference about why Mesopotamia had this nickname? One interesting thing is that New Orleans is known as the Crescent City, and that's actually because the Mississippi River forms a crescent shape, like a crescent moon. Well, Mesopotamia also formed a crescent with fertile land right here. So it's known as the Fertile Crescent for that reason. The farmers owed this fertile soil to the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. The word Mesopotamia means the land between 2 rivers. These rivers flooded every spring. I'm actually going to edit this. The land between 2 rivers, because there are 2 rivers. These rivers flooded every spring. The Zagros Mountains, north of Mesopotamia, had snow on top of them each winter. In the spring, as the weather became warmer, the snow melted. Water trickled down the mountains, filling the rivers higher and higher. The Tigris and Euphrates rose as the snow melted, eventually flooding the farmlands of Mesopotamia. When the water receded back to the rivers, there was rich soil called silt left over. Silt was rich soil perfect for farming. I want you to answer on your paper the two questions. How did silt reach Mesopotamian farmland? And what were the two important rivers for Mesopotamians? All right, we're back. You should flip your page to the next side. Farmers could plant huge amounts of crops in this fertile silt. Mesopotamian farmers planted a lot of wheat and barley. Since they could plant so much, they had surplus food. So, of course, not everybody had to worry about where their next meal was coming from. As a result, a civilization grew. Remember how we talked about surplus means that there is extra food, there's more than enough, and it creates a bigger population because more food means more people can live. But life wasn't all rainbows and sunshine in Mesopotamia. However, the geography of Mesopotamia also brought challenges. The flooding of the Tigris and Euphrates was sometimes unpredictable. If it had rained a lot, the rivers could flood when no one was expecting it. The floods could destroy houses and kill people, just like floods can still do today. On the other hand, in a dry year, the rivers wouldn't flood as much as the farmers need them to. Over time, the Mesopotamians learned how to deal with these challenges. They dug irrigation ditches to bring water from the rivers year-round, no matter what kind of weather. Take a second and answer the question, what is the purpose of irrigation? Another challenge for Mesopotamians was their flat land. We know that they needed flat land for farming, but at the same time they had few natural barriers to protect them from invaders. The Zagros Mountains protected them from the north, but from the other sides, if an enemy group wanted to invade their land, they could easily do so. The Mesopotamians adapted to this challenge as they did their others. They learned to make bricks out of mud from the banks of the rivers. They built walls around their cities, man-made barriers that protected them from enemies. As you can see right here, the Mesopotamians had to build man-made barriers, which are the walls, to protect them. The third challenge for Mesopotamians was their natural resources were limited. They were surrounded by desert, and they didn't have many forests for wood. They needed wood and stone for building. So, to deal with this challenge, they traded with the nomads of the mountains and deserts. They also traded with African kingdoms along the Nile River. I want you to make sure that you answer the remaining two questions on your paper. Why were Mesopotamians at risk of enemy invasion, and how did they protect themselves? And number 6, what resources were scarce in Mesopotamia? How did people gain these resources? And remember, 6th graders, keep it 100.